Fortner. Good morning, Bill. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Vic. I'm doing extremely well.
So,
happy to be with you.
Glad to have you on. You are getting back into the mix with the doggone politicians out there. You were in it for a little while. You stepped out, and you decided to come back in.
Yeah, I was in it in 2021, 2022, and I got derailed when I ran for the Senate by my own party. But I'm not going to cry about that no more. Time to move on. And first of all, my name is Bill Fortner. I'm a fifth generation Campbell County native. Been here through the good times, the bad times, the booms and the busts. Worked in all of them, coal, oil, and gas. Have a family. Have two boys and a wife. Wife of 45 years. Been in the contract business, everything from commercial weed spraying to water trucks, ranching. Been there, done a lot, wore many hats, different hats in my lifetime. I'm not no 80 or 90 years old. I'll be 67 in September. My political ambitions is the same as they was when I ran in 2020 and become the House Representative, District 52. My ambitions was for a smaller, more accountable government and less taxes, and those ambitions are pretty much the same today. Well, they're over and beyond that today because we got so much more government encroachment on us. And to be honest with you, our representatives in the House and the Senate in Washington, D.C., they're just not doing their job. They belong behind the tariffs that's been presented to America right now through the president that we have. They are responsible for the tariffs. The president, the executive branch, does not have the power to tariff foreign nations, and they are responsible for the War Act, not the president. So executive orders are totally unconstitutional. We're seeing them siphoned down from the federal stage for where the president's at now to the counties and the state. Through the state governor, we are seeing those acts, unconstitutional acts, being presented in our county and all 23 counties of Wyoming when they exempt these large industries like data centers and nuclear from doing environmental impact studies just at the governor's whim. They don't have to do that. That's all driven by the executive branch out of Washington, D.C. So I'm not saying that I'm pro-Republican or pro-Democrat because I'm not. I'm not of either uniparty. That's why when I was House District 52 representative in 2021, 2022, I was a Republican, a solid, stringent Republican. But since then, I have changed my platform to the Constitution. That the Constitution is my platform, not the Republican platform.
But you are running as a Republican.
I am running as a Republican. The only reason is because we do not have open elections in Wyoming, so I have to run as a Republican, but I don't have to like their platform, and I have not signed their platform because it conflicts with the Constitution.
So once again, you're running for House District 52 again, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's at the state level. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you want to be able to accomplish if you do win 52.
Okay, I got a little punch list here, but I want to start with affordability because that's a big issue out there, and I hear a lot of people's that's the number one issue I hear. They say Wyoming most of their concerns is about medical and medical costs and medical facilities in Wyoming, but it all plays back into the affordability deal, and it's not a Democrat phrase. It's a phrase that applies to everybody. And basically, the reason for this affordability deal that we're going through right now, the phase that we're going through right now, I can't lay it all off on Donald Trump. I can't lay it all off on Joe Biden. I can't lay it all off on anybody but both parties working for the same agenda, power and control. And that started happening back in like 1903. Actually, it started happening prior to that, like 1902, 1903. But anyways, what's the driver to affordability is inflation. When we got inflation, that dictates the value of the dollar. And from 1913 to June of 2026, The dollar has declined about 97%.
Wow.
So that right there in itself tells you that we're not going to go back to where we was at prior COVID. And by the way, COVID was the reset for the world, not just America, but for the world. I mean, so we're going to see steady increase of prices. We're going to see steady decline in living, our living quality of living, and so that's the driver for me getting back into politics.
So how do you want to go about making sure affordability is handled at the state level if you were to be a candidate or if you are elected?
Yeah, and basically the only way we can turn things back is we're going to have to reduce government, which reduces taxes. And then those taxes, that might equate to enough to pay your electric bill or your car payment or gas in your car tank. Wyoming we are rated #1 in the nation for government employees. We top everybody, and they say, well, you know what? The reason for that is because we're so spread out and such a small population. But that's BS. That's not true. Because, I'll just give you a good example. In Campbell County, we don't need 5 commissioners. The statute only calls for 3.
Okay.
Okay, and our school system, we don't need that big bloated school system that we have out there because parents could be doing their part. They could be, and my wife, she works for the transportation part of the school system. And I've been saying it for years as I spray out every different road in the county and in several counties. These school systems, they have numerous buses that go by the same areas, but they only can pick up a certain amount of people. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of waste and abuse and fraud in our state government and stuff. And the way I want to go about handling a lot of that is with forensic audits. If I know, for example, here in Campbell County, they've cut your information request off at 2 years, which is a violation of the Article 4 of the United States Constitution. I know for a fact that didn't happen, that's happening right now. So if I was a state representative, I would do a forensic audit against our county to find out exactly what the reason is before that, and to penalize those guys that's in control of that, whether it's calling for resignation of their office or giving them some kind of disciplinary action. That would have to happen underneath the forensic audit.
Where do you sit on the property taxes? You mentioned affordability. We were talking about that and everything else, and you've got a ballot initiative coming up in November, depending on what direction that goes. Where do you sit on the property taxes? Has that been handled? Is there more work that needs to be done? Do we need property taxes? I don't know where you sit, Phil.
When I was back in 2021 or 2022, I guess it was, I seen the economic woes that it put against industry like oil and gas and coal. I ran a bill to eliminate personal property taxes back then, and it pretty much didn't go anywhere. But now I'll be on that same path this go around I get in. It won't just be personal property; it'll be real property. All property tax elimination, 100%. Once you buy your property, you pay the initial taxes on it, then it goes away. Basically, what the property tax does, it allows government to still control you a certain percent of you and what you do and the way you work by them having control over your property. It's unconstitutional for them to control. I mean, the states have the right to tax property, but when they got so many backdoor and hidden taxes, like in sales tax and permits and
fees,
things like fees and there's another. They passed a lot of them when I was down there. I can't remember. I got it right here in my notes.
Let me ask you this. So, if we did away with personal property taxes, all kind of property taxes that you were talking about, if apparently around 70% of property taxes goes towards schools, how would we take care of schools?
Well, when I was there in Cheyenne the last time, I ran school choice and I stood pretty fast on that. And the reason why is because with school choice, we don't have to fit underneath the same Wyoming Constitution statute that they have right now on schools, public schools. The reason I like school choice is because it moves us plumb away from Washington D.C. and it moves the standard for financing plumb away too. We have bought into these illegal acts and statutes and stuff that the Washington D.C.'s put in against the Constitution. You know, Article 1, Section 8 only has 17 different provisions for the government it's enumerated to the federal government. Now they have over 400 of them.
Wow.
In the annotated Constitution, which is totally illegal. I mean, the annotated Constitution, what it did is it gave government the opportunity to expand its powers beyond what they was originally limited to in 1787. So anyways, so we need to walk back all these programs that has anything to do with government grants and government financing at the federal level and get it back to the state level. We need to move the government out to Washington D.C. and leave them there, and we need to depend on our representatives and senators that we send out there to do the right thing and not be out there to line their pockets and get money and power out of that deal.
All right, we got about halfway through our interview, so I know you got a lot of notes. What other topics are you concerned about, want to cover if you were to be elected?
Well, we already talked about the data centers and the nuclear. So, but what I want to talk about on that the most is that I'll vote no on that every time. And I know I was in here earlier and sort of gave it a maybe. I don't know, 6-8 months ago. But anyways, the thing about them is they're forcing their way into Wyoming through these executive orders. It's forced down from Washington D.C. to our governor's office. They have not done all their environmental impact studies at the city and county level, but they want to use they want to use the phrase they want to pretend like they don't have to comply with law by hiding underneath their trade secrets, which as long as they're using critical infrastructure like cities and counties and critical resources like water and electric, they can't have them trade secrets. They're not within the Constitution. They overstep our 14th Amendment rights, and no corporation has that right.
So then I'd like to know, for the future of the county and for the state of Wyoming as well, because obviously if you're elected in this position, you'll be serving your district, but also the state as well. What direction do you see the future of Wyoming going if we're not going to allow data centers, we're not going to allow nuclear and other things like that?
I will push coal gasification because that's a huge bang for Wyoming. We get the corporations, companies come in here and do coal gasification. There's like 14 different products coal gasification brings.
And what is coal gasification?
That's where they light the coal seam underground on fire. They capture all the carbon, they capture all the product. Basically, it's a clean energy.
Okay.
They got fertilizers and chemicals and things like that to capture off of this gas. That's coal that we cannot mine actively from the surface. It produces hydrogen and, like I say, sulfur and several ag fertilizers that we depend on right now from the Strait of Hormuz. So anyways, I think that's going to be a big bang for Wyoming.
Okay.
If we go ahead and just shelve the data centers and the nuclear, that's what I'm looking at being the big bang. Another thing that I would go hard against with constitutional limits and strategy that we've violated the people in Wyoming over is qualified immunity. The state it has qualified immunity in our state, but they say, well, we can't have qualified immunity in the state of Wyoming because for the simple reason we can't hire no police officers if they have qualified immunity, but that's not true. That's another great myth that Wyoming likes to portray to keep unconstitutional mandates in place and unconstitutional laws in place. Places like Colorado, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, all bans qualified immunity. Means qualified immunity, let's back up, means that the police officers have to be accountable for what they do. If they shoot somebody accidentally, they just can't march off and claim qualified immunity. And that happens in Wyoming. It's happened in Laramie County a couple different times. And I can tell you an incident that happened here. A guy got burnt. He burned up. He was burning some weed, and he burned a little bit of his property, or his neighbor's property. And we had law enforcement show up there, and the fire department, and those two departments colluded with each other to prosecute this guy with felony arson. It pretty much broke the guy. It cost him his trucking company. It cost him his job. Put him on a hardship. So with that being said, he should have had the right to sue those entities of the state of Wyoming for civil. But anyways, so the United States Constitution under the 11th Amendment, it allows for sovereign immunity. And what sovereign immunity is it doesn't allow one state to sue another state, or a citizen to sue the state to the point that it breaks the state. Okay, but it does allow for employees of the state to be sued. But the federal courts should pick this up. Again, illegal law set in place by federal courts, federal Supreme Court rules and decisions, and state federal courts, the federal judges, that's violating their Sixth Amendment right, or Article 6 right. But anyways, they've allowed for qualified immunity to protect these bad actors. So anyways, that's a big pet peeve of mine. I'd like to get that resolved, and then I'd like to also bring felons' rights back to vote in the state of Wyoming. We've never had those in the state of Wyoming, but it can be done. When I go door to door, whether it be for the Senate or the House, or when I ran for commission, I go door to door on any of them issues, and I always run into a lot of felons. They can't vote. So there's no reason to have these guys penalized forever. Once they've served their time, they deserve to have just as much right to vote as the preacher down here on the corner of the Presbyterian Church. So anyways, I'm going to push really hard to get those guys their voting rights and the rights to register. Because Texas, South Carolina, Alaska, they have all done that. They give full compensation back right after they've completed their sentence, probation, and parole. Then if you go down from that, we got California, Washington, Illinois, and them all immediately give them the right soon as they are done with their prison sentence. That's cut and dried. So Wyoming, basically what we're setting as here is some kind of socialist government here that's going to strip people of the rights to vote, which is all right with them, is because these felons all work. They got a job, they pay taxes, property taxes, but you're forcing somebody into the scenario of taxation without representation when you have felons that can't even register to vote. So that, to me, in the Constitution, it allows for the states to set those rights, but so at the level of Cheyenne, the House and Senate Congress is in Cheyenne, we reserve the right to set that in place to where we can allow felons to vote, and I'll be pushing really hard for that.
All right, we got about 2 minutes left. Why do you believe you are the better candidate for House District 52, and why should people vote for you?
Well, I've been there and I've done that for 2 years. I know the ins and outs. I know a lot of the issues that's already there that they like to sidestep, that they don't like to talk about. And I just mentioned a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them. The other reason is you gotta be extremely aggressive, you gotta be able to stand up on the floor and do a point of order, call it out in the middle of the session, you know, whether it's for fees or rate increases like we talked about. That happened in COVID. You gotta be able to have the backbone to stand up and confront the whole house on a point of order. And I can do that. I've done that. I'm vocal. You know, I can stand out and I can speak up for the citizens of House District 52.
What committees would you want to be on if you were elected?
Well, I was on the Ag Committee before, and I'd like to be on that one as well. And you know, basically, if whatever committees they put me on, I'll make the best of them. You know, and if I'm not on a committee that I see an issue on, like schools or finance, I'll go sit in on those committees when they first come out. And, you know, and I'll have input because they give legislators input on all them committees. So there's nothing that restricts me to just one thing or the other. But a huge thing in the Ag Committee is, and I'll tell this to people right now, we've allowed these presidents to have executive orders that's over and beyond that makes them king. And one of the reasons I do not want to see data centers and nuclear in Wyoming is because they're going to suck water that's required by us at the city and the county levels. They're going to suck water that's needed, and our surface water is going to go down the drainage, down the Colorado River, and the president has, with these executive orders, I would not be surprised if he used an executive order to strip us of our surface water in Wyoming and the Rocky Mountain states. And with that being said, we're already destroying water aquifers, potable aquifers in the state of Wyoming for in situ mining, which is mining of the uranium.
Yep.
Once those are polluted, you can never get them back. You never. They say, well, it'd be decades. No, it'd be centuries before you ever see those ever return to normal.
All right, we're going to wrap this interview up. Where can people get a hold of you if they want to ask questions I didn't ask? I know you're filming this, so they can always watch this interview themselves, I guess, on your site, correct?
Yeah, our site or my site is billfortner.net. You go there. I'll be at the county fair. I'll have a booth there set up to talk to anybody there. Anytime, you know, the hours that they have, they can call me at 307-660-8563. We can talk there. Our area, my area is a big area, you know, and it's tough to get to talk to everybody. So that's why we set up billfortner.net and try to reach people different directions or every way possible that we can. And again, I'd like to thank you very much, Basin Radio, for putting this on. You know, you're the best promotion that we have out there because everybody else wants to charge us through the nose. The elections are already tremendously expensive, but what you guys do is you're getting the voice out there on the cuff, and I deeply appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I want the voters to be able to hear from the candidates, at least one avenue for them to do so they can hear what's going on. So what's your website one more time? billfortner.net?
billfortner.net.
All right, that's where you'll find all the information, and you can ask more questions to Bill Fortner. He's once again running for House District 52. That's Sleepy Hollow, my neck of the woods, and then goes out to the northeastern part of the county and everything else. So you can always check out wyoleg.gov, and you can see the districts if you are wanting to know if you're in